So, Chris, you are involved with conventions all around the world, including Malta, or countries not known for their comic book tradition. How would you describe conventions in those countries?
It's totally different. Like, I was used to, being in Australia and then the UK and US cons, and so there's this comic book culture, not as strong as you would think. Like, you go to France and that's incredible, but then you go somewhere like Malta or here in Greece and I hear, the comic culture isn't as big, it's not such a thing, and yet what I find is people are really, like, the people that are into it are very involved, very active. I don't know if it's true, but a few people here have said that pretty much everyone that, is Greek that loves comics does something with them. So, they so many of them can draw, and I've seen so many great artists here, which you don't get that level of engagement and involvement in other places. So actually, on the one hand, it appears small, and you go to a show and they'll say, we only have 1,000 people. But those are 1,000 really hardcore, dedicated people, and not sort of hardcore in the nerdy, scary way, but the kind where you're like, actually, they just love comics and they want to do them. I'm finding the same here, but Malta was probably my first big exposure of that, and I love it. Like, I've been every year except for the first one, and I think they've had 7 now, so I've been to 6. And each year you go back and you see people just getting better, more new, younger people coming in that are doing stuff, even older guys that used to love comics and were, obviously it was just a pipe dream, and now, picking up their pens and pencils and paintbrushes and doing stuff. So to me, they're the more exciting shows, actually.
Here in Greece, they schedule their new releases for the convention.
Yes.
Have you seen conventions influencing the local markets in a similar way in other places?
Oh yeah, definitely. If I can use one really easy example, in the UK we've got a convention called Thought Bubble that happens in Leeds every November, and it's become a big one, and so even they'll get a lot of image creators over. They'll get, like, Eric Stevenson, the publisher from Image Comics, will often go. He'll actually scout for new talent, and they'll often time the launch of a book, for worldwide release to coincide with that weekend. And so, one really good example was there was a book called Limbo that's been running. I think issue 6 just came out. It was a mini-series at Image, and the 2 guys who did that, Casper and Dan, submitted their their pitch at Thought Bubble a couple of years ago, and then they made the debut of the first issue at Thought Bubble last year. And so you're actually seeing things being timed around conventions, not just sort of small press creators obviously publishing their own books, because that is a great time to launch something new, but even the bigger publishing houses are saying, well, let's coincide with this con here or there. I mean, working in a comic shop as my day job, I see stuff like when San Diego Comic-Con is on, in mid-July, usually, sort of give or take a couple of weeks, there's always suddenly a whole lot of books that come out that week in the shop, and it's just because this convention is on over there. And so definitely I think conventions really play into and influence the market, and it just makes sense, from a promotional standpoint.
What would you say are the differences between a huge convention like San Diego and smaller local conventions?
The biggest thing is actually that you get to meet and engage with people. When you're at somewhere like San Diego, you can have personal moments and you can meet people at a table, and maybe you'll run into someone in a bar afterwards or something, but it's not going to happen all the time. Whereas here, using this as the example, you can walk around. I could get to every table, generally, and have a bit of time with each person, explore what they do, and I really like that side of things. I prefer that. People go, we just want to be bigger and bigger, but you lose that personal touch. I can't think of any big shows that really maintain that personal touch, and so there's that balance between not getting too big. But obviously, you want to spread the word about comics. I mean, I want more people reading comics. I want more people coming to the cons to see these creators, to pick up stuff and to engage, but not at the expense of the personal touch, which is what smaller shows still provide.
I see. Which kind of leads me to the last question. How do you find the ComicDom Con, and how far behind do you think we are?
I don't think it's about being behind, but how have I found it? It's excellent. Really well organized, really well run. What I like, the impression I get of Greece is that everything's a bit laid back and runs like at a later time than everything else. So I went for breakfast this morning and it was saying serving breakfast till 6 p.m. We were like, what? You know, you're lucky if you get served till breakfast till midday or something in, the UK, and that's like a late breakfast. So I like that, people eat dinner at, 11, 12 at night and whatever. So there's this laid back kind of thing, and so you're not stuck on a strict schedule. Like I just did a panel and we were in on time, but no one was like chasing us because we were just there in time. I wouldn't say you guys are behind at all. It's a different flavor. I think you need to cater to the show to where you are. But people tell me there's not a great Greek comic scene. And for me, as an outsider, I'm like, yeah, there is. Like, I know that you might look at San Diego and go, right, 150,000, we don't have that, and that's crazy. But I don't know if you want that. Like, that's all because of Hollywood and the film stuff and whatever. But this is pure comics, and I think you guys are, like, right on the curve, right on the money with it. Yeah. Want to come back in other years and be able to see growth, because I'm just like, this is exciting. I'm suddenly like, yeah, Greek comics. Like, you guys have got a scene, and I want to watch it grow.
Cool. Apart from being involved in conventions, you also have a podcast, if I'm right?
Yes. I do a show called Orbital in Conversation. It used to be called Pop Culture Hound, and a lot of people know it for that because that's my Twitter handle. And each week I interview different creators. And I try to make it broad as far as being international. So I was at the Angoulême Festival in France earlier this year, and there's a load of interviews from that. I've spoken to people like Alan Moore and Gerard Way and Mike Mignola and Chuck Palahniuk that did Fight Club. So I think there's something for everybody. So yeah, I would love people to check it out.